Hey everyone. So I thought that for the end of the year, it would be fun if I just sort of did like a ramble video on my 10 favorite games, new games this year, like my top 10 games of 2021. And these are like new games that came out this year. So yeah, I guess we'll get started at the bottom of the list. We're gonna do them ranked. I ranked them. This is Ellie. She didn't rank her games this year. So number 10, I'm going to start with Inscription, which is a very cool game from Devolver Digital and Daniel Mullins, who did Pony Island. I'm sure you've heard of it now because it got like pretty crazy reviews among the like review circuit. It's like a card horror game, at least at the beginning. Well, the whole thing's kind of a horror game, but it's interesting because there's 3 different card games in it that happen one after another. There's Act 1, 2, and 3, all of which are wildly different games. Almost unbelievable that there's a thread tied between them. But the beginning is really intriguing. I think Act 1 was actually my favorite part of it. Not to say Act 2 and 3 are bad, they're just kind of less exciting. But Act 1 was probably the best part because it's a roguelike deck builder, but like I've never played a card game even remotely similar to this one, and it was really interesting. There's a lot of weird mechanics in it. I like that you have 2 decks all the time, and one is you can draw squirrels, and the other one is like your actual cards, and they require sacrifices, which you can use squirrels for. So like each turn, it's like you're making a decision on which deck to draw from, which I like a lot, in addition to like how to play your cards and stuff. But it's horrifying. The entire Act 1 is just one demon named Leshy who has trapped you in a cabin, and you are like working with some of the cards that have come alive to like help you all escape, and then like the larger story unfolds after that. But this demon's like role-playing a game with you and keeps like changing out masks and hats and like thinking he's different people almost. I know he's just role-playing, but like when it's a demon doing it, it's like he's very convincing. It's a really good game. It's extremely addictive. I don't really like card games that much, to be honest, but I really enjoyed this. Like I said, especially Act 1. Game's definitely worth finishing, but like this would be a lot higher on my list if Act 2 and 3 had been a little bit more fun and dragged on a little bit less. Number 9 is Deathloop. People loved Deathloop this year, mostly. I think critics liked it a little too much. I am obviously aware that I am like the number 1 Arcane Studios stan, so why is Deathloop number 9 on this list? That's insane. Being that I felt all 3 of the Dishonored games and Prey were all perfect 10 out of 10 games. This game just like didn't test my resourcefulness in the way that I want Arcane to do. Like those games are all about you have an obstacle and there are dozens and dozens of ways to get through it, and like working your way through all these intricate overlaid systems that they've created with this really wide tool set that they give you and this robust physics engine. It's like your job to like outsmart the developers essentially, and I just really didn't get that sensation from Deathloop. The story was fun up until the end, which I thought kind of sucked, but the detective stuff like really works in Deathloop. It's really like you really feel like you're a detective solving, like putting together clues in an organic way and then executing your actions based on those clues. The best part of it obviously is the invasion mechanic, like having Juliana come in and invade your game and it's a real person. That was like when I felt that like that high that I only get from Arcane's games usually, is like, oh my god, I'm at the end of my limit. I'm like having a sniper battle across a frozen lake with this person who like is a real person who's invaded my game and trying to stop my loop, and like it's extremely fun. Like the shooting is really good. I think the problem with Deathloop for me is that every time you do anything, it feels like you did the right thing, and the world is kind of built in such an intricate way that every time you do anything, it's good and it works. And that's like not really why I come to these games. But it's still a great game. It's still fantastic, and man, like you really get on that high. Like I said, like running through these loops and like trying to stay alive when a human Juliana invades your game. I didn't really enjoy myself doing the invasions. Like I did a few of them, but it was not really like my thing. I was very bad at it. Number 8 is Little Nightmares 2. probably the most criminally forgotten and underrated game this year. I'm wildly upset that like nobody is talking about it. At our site Game Luster, we had it as a Game of the Year contender, which I mean, like that at least is something. Like, but it is definitely one of the best games this year. Like, I just am sad no one's talking about it at all. Little Nightmares 1 is fantastic as well. These games, if you haven't played them, are first of all terrifying. Secondly, so interesting because there are no written or spoken words in either of these games for the entire duration. Everything is environmental storytelling, and it is done so masterfully. The platforming in the second one is definitely improved over the first one, and you do have to play the first one before you play the second one. The stories are very intricately connected, and the second one will make literally no sense if you don't play the first. So I highly recommend it. Grab a friend, get in a dark room. I played this with one of my good friends because we years ago played the first one together, like in the same room physically, and we weren't able to do that anymore because we live in different parts of the country now, and so we played it together online over Discord, and that was like really nice. Shout out to Annie if you're watching. It's extremely good. It's so well crafted, so scary, and like the art is phenomenal. The music is really good, and just like the mannequin segment of this game is the most scared I've ever been by, I think, a movie or a TV show or a game ever in my whole life. I like felt the real visceral like survival fear like a real person. Anyway, it's amazing. Please play these games. Number 7 is Death's Door. Another fantastic indie game which I feel has not been getting the recognition it deserves. It is certainly one of the best indie games this year, if not the best indie game this year. And man, I loved this game. The art direction is amazing. The music is phenomenal. I don't think people are not talking about the music enough. It's amazing. I love the like soft piano sounds and this like high intensity action thing with like the Studio Ghibli like, you know, inspired design of these monsters and everything, and like the autumn sense, and it just comes together so well. Like the world, the characters, like the bureaucracy, the comedy of all that is so good, at the same time being very dire and like solemn, and being able to tell like a serious, not like an intense story or an intricate story, but a serious one that like, you know, is really interesting. And the second to last boss fight, which I will not spoil, but if you've played it, you know what I'm talking about, was my favorite boss fight of any video game this year, I think. It's just blew my mind. I loved it so much. I want to give Death's Door a special shout out for bringing out the part of me that like wants to master a game, because that almost never happens. Like, I don't like getting good at games. I've never really enjoyed the Soulsborne games because like I just don't like doing things over and over till I get them right. But this game is really hard, and I was so into it that I didn't even notice I was going around and like killing the optional bosses and stuff, and collecting everything, and how weird that was for me. But I 100% completed this game, and that never ever happens. So it has joined the elite ranks of Super Mario 64 and Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage as one of the 3 games I have ever 100%ed. It is phenomenal. Number 6 is Persona 5 Strikers. This game is so good because if you've played Persona 5, this is a direct sequel to Persona 5, like narratively, so you do need to play that game first. So I played Persona 5 in like early 2019, I think, so after it had come out, but a while ago still, and I'd been really like missing those characters. You know, it told a very complete story and everything, but I was like, man, I wish I could go back to them. And then when they announced this, I was like, oh, is this some shitty spin-off? Fuck. And they're like, no, this is like a narrative direct sequel. And I was like, fuck yes, put me in, coach. And it's so good. The story is fun. It's not like as well put together, I guess, as Persona 5, but the rest of the game I think might honestly be better than the original. Like, I'm not really a big fan of turn-based combat. Persona 5 is one of the only turn-based combat games I've enjoyed ever. And this just is so much better. Like, this is such a perfect translation of the combat from Persona 5 into live combat. Like, I mean, like, I don't know, I think this is an even better adaptation than, like, Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was amazing. Like, but this is such a good live adaptation of a turn-based system, and, like, all of it just works. It clicks together so well. The Muso stuff is actually very different than what you might be expecting if you know the Warriors games. You're usually doing, like, 8 to 10 second fights with, like, maybe 5 or 6 monsters at a time. That's what most of the fights are like, and then there's you know, like, mini bosses and bosses around that take a lot longer, obviously, and have more minions. But I think the most like monsters that are on the field at the same time ever is, like, maybe there's 25 of them or something during boss fights or something. Like, it's really not like a war Muso game. And there's an actual dungeon crawler kind of thing too. Like, in the dungeons, you're making progression through the dungeons, and the encounters happen to be little groups of monsters and stuff. And it's just so much fun, and it's so good to see these characters, and especially An and Yusuke get to develop their character arcs out even farther in a really meaningful way, and it's really well done. So if you played Persona 5, there's literally no reason that you can't have played this already. It's on PS Plus now. Please play Strikers. It is so good. It is a very, very worthy sequel to what is, like, widely considered one of the best games ever. Number 5 is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. So I got my PS5 right around launch time, a little bit after, and that was neat. I played Miles Morales, right, and a little of Demon Souls, and I was like, alright, cool. I'm glad I got it, because I did get to play like, you know, playing games in 60 FPS rather than 30 was worth that to me. But I was obviously, like everyone else, missing, like, where's next gen, baby? Where's the graphical showpiece that was literally not possible on the PS4? Where is it? And here it is, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. That's the one they decided. That's the one Sony was like, this is it. Use this one. This is going to be the next gen game. And man, I loved this game. I've probably made it known before that I am possibly my favorite game of all time is Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. I've mentioned that before, but I love the entire Spyro trilogy. Spyro the Dragon, Ripto's Rage, and then Year of the Dragon. All three of those games are phenomenal, and Insomniac unfortunately has not made any since then. They made those first 3 games, and then I believe Activision had the rights and had other people make them, and then they were bad. But please play the Spyro Reignited trilogy, by the way. They're fantastic, faithful remakes, and they are very good. So I got off track, but what I was trying to say is that Insomniac, I've never really been into Ratchet & Clank. The only other game I played was the 2016 one, which was good. I really enjoyed it. But I was waiting for this because I was like, something about this is calling to me. And at the same time as being that technical, graphical showpiece for next gen that I wanted so badly, this also felt like a new Spyro game of the new Spyro of the old Spyro trilogy. Like, it had the, like, Ellie. Yeah. It had, like, all of the charm. I don't know, it was something about the behavior of the characters and the framing of the camera and, like, the way, you know, the writing and the design of the people that you met and everything. Like, something about it was so familiar to me, and, like, I felt that, like, I don't know, Insomniac has very clearly progressed and been making phenomenal stuff. Spider-Man, I forgot Spider-Man, but, like, they have not forgotten who they are, and it's, like, so apparent in this game that they have, like, found the perfect way to mix, like, who they are becoming, which is, like, maybe the most talented AAA studio out there, with, like, who they used to be. and not losing sight of that. I mostly have just been talking about Insomniac. I should talk about the game. The game's really good. The guns feel great. The DualSense is amazing. Like, this made me a DualSense believer. I wasn't before. I thought it was a gimmick like the HD Rumble. But no, like, you can feel the individual bolts and nuts swirling around in the controller. Each gun makes a different sound when you shoot from the controller by vibrating at different frequencies. It's not a speaker. There's no speakers involved. It's literally just the thousands of motors like rumbling at different frequencies to create this different kinds of sounds and kickback. You have like actual kickback from your guns and stuff. You can feel when you're walking the resistance of the earth on your feet with your footsteps. It is very hard to describe unless you actually just do it. But yeah, it is really enhanced this game. The shooting, like I said, is great. The comedy is fun. The sense of adventure was great. The speed was the thing that I think knocked it up to be like amazing for me. Like, you have these rocket boots and you were just speeding along these giant open planets, and it feels so good. It feels like the right, I don't know, just the movement feels very good along with all the shooting and stuff. It works together extremely well. So I mean, if you have a PS5, there's literally no reason you shouldn't have already played this game. Please get it. It will justify your PlayStation 5 purchase on its own. Number 4 is It Takes Two. That was fun. So, I really didn't know that I was going to, I didn't think that I was going to jump into this game when I first saw the trailer for it. Because, like, it looked like it was supposed to be, like a thing that you played with your significant other or whatever, and, eventually I was, like, hearing so much about it that, and I saw, like, you know, the review scores were amazing, and then, like, everyone was talking about it, and I was like, alright, I gotta see what's going on. And, because of the amazing Friends Pass thing, which is that if you buy one copy of the game, you get 2 copies. You get one for you and one for a friend, which is amazing. Because the game is mandated that you have a friend or whatever to play co-op with. Like, there's not like matchmaking or anything. You have to play the entire campaign with one person, the 2 of you working together, which is very important. And so my friend Ashley, hi Ashley for watching, and I played this game together for, maybe like 7 or 8 weeks in a row. Maybe like once a week we would get together, and for a few hours we would just like kind of tap in and just hang out and talk, and it was just like the most intense bonding session I've had with a friend, I guess, ever. The game is so fun. It just encourages collaboration in ways that I've never seen video games even try to do before. It is just a completely new level of cooperation in a video game, and I feel very comfortable calling it the best co-op game I've ever played. Man, it completely blew me away. Everything about it just creating moment after moment of like unforgettable fun, because it's you and somebody you're close to. Like, that's the thing, is that like you kind of have to play this game with somebody, like with a close friend or a significant other, or like brother or sister or something like that, like somebody close to you, because like those moments that you create with them trying to work together like this are unforgettable. And Joseph Ferris has done a phenomenal job. He earned that Game of the Year award. Bravo, man. This and the team obviously at Hazelight. I liked A Way Out okay. I thought it was good. But this is just like on another level. 5 stars, man. This is amazing. Number 3 is Life is Strange: True Colors. I'm trying to do the poster pose. So this game is really it surprised me, to be frank. I loved Life is Strange 1 is one of maybe my favorite games. It's probably on my list of favorite games ever. I loved it. I've played it a few times, and I love it more each time. The second one I thought was okay. It didn't really connect with me in a weird way. I'm not sure why. It was weird because I felt like the story was better better written and better composed, and it just like didn't emotionally resonate with me at all. Before the Storm I liked a good bit, and then of course this game is being made by Deck 9, the studio. They're a studio in Colorado that that made Before the Storm, because Don't Nod has moved on and is not going to be working with Square Enix again. So I was a little bit hesitant about this. I was like, oh, are they going to be able to pull this off? They super duper pulled it off. They pulled it off better than Don't Nod ever did at their own dumb idea. This is easily the best game in this franchise. No question. No, not even approaching anything like a question. Alex is such a good protagonist. Cause like, I don't know. It's so weird that the game is so natural about not trying to endear her to you. Like, they really just present her as like a woman just trying to like live, and they don't like play up her like flaws as like fun quirks, and they also don't like try to make you hate her either or anything. They're just like, this is our character. We want you to relate to her. We don't want you to like be her, but we want you to be able to emotionally tie yourself to her. And so she's this fully fleshed out character that it's so easy, like everyone will find something in Alex to relate to and to hold on to. And this tragedy strikes immediately in the first chapter, and like the characters are so well written. The whole game is so well written. The story is compelling. The mechanics are better than they've been before, I think, especially with the Alex's ability to read other people's emotions and then eventually manipulate them, which is a horrifying prospect. And she does face like the ramifications of how horrible that power would be in real life. Like, they really don't hold back on it. The idea that you can change other people's emotions and even take them away, like, it's a horror story, really, in a way. But like, the other characters are great. Steph is awesome. Steph is from Before the Storm, so she's kind of a returning character who we liked a lot. Ryan can just fuck off, I guess. I got so engrossed in this game. Like, Chapter 5, I was crying like almost like a continuous waterfall. The acting, Erica Mori, especially as Alex, like, unbelievable job. If you haven't played any of this like franchise before, you can start with this one. Like I said, they're just like, they're Easter eggs alluding to the previous games, but like nothing story specific. You should play this one. It's so good. Number two and number one on my list are a little bit funky, because I think this game at number 2 is maybe a practically better game. It might actually just be a better game overall, but my number 1 game impacted me in a way that I can't, like, I can't forget. So anyway, number 2, I have Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, the biggest surprise of the year for everybody. Like a lot of you, probably because of Avengers and because it took up 3/4 of the Square Enix E3 press conference, I was worried that this game was going to be like absolute dog shit. I thought it was going to be like actively bad, like Avengers bad, and it came out, and of course, like, crazy good review scores. But on top of that, I started reading the reviews. I started like hearing people talk about it, and like the game that they had described to me, I was like, that's a Nirv game. I was doing like the Leo pointing on the couch meme. I was like, that's a Nirv game. I was right. That's a Nirv game. I watched some clips of like the dialogue and some of the gameplay again, and like reading about what the actual structure of the game was, I was like, this sounds perfect. It sounds like a perfect video game. Could it be? And then I got it, and it was. I know a lot of people didn't like the combat. I keep hearing that from a lot of people. I liked it a lot. I think it got repetitive in the last few hours, but I really liked the setup. It's like, Mass Effect with a little bit more movement. You're controlling Star-Lord and commanding all your other teammates with all these different attacks from like these pause menus and stuff, and it's like somewhere between. I guess it really is more like Mass Effect with a lot more like actual action and punching and stuff. So it worked really well for me. Of course, the thing that everyone's talking about is the narrative. This is one of my favorite game stories ever. These characters are so well written. The dialogue is amazing. Like I love the way these characters are presented. And like, let me say, I love the Marvel, like James Gunn movies for Guardians of the Galaxy, but like, I like these characters more. These ones really, really hit me somewhere in my heart. Like, I connected with all of them. Cause like, this story is like really, really, there's not subtext here. This is a story about grief and coming to terms with grief. Each of these characters has a personal arc of dealing with some kind of grief. And like for Peter, for Star-Lord, it's coming to terms with the fact that his mother was killed in front of him and he was powerless to save her. And then for Gamora, it's the fact that she had to kill her own sister to save her own life, Nebula. And then for Drax, of course, it is that his wife and his daughter died, and Thanos killed them. And he killed Thanos, and he stopped him, but it didn't make it better. It didn't bring them back. And it's like the grief of dealing with that, the realization slowly that like the revenge didn't help. And then Rocket, which is like heartbreaking, is the only survivor of hundreds of his brothers and sisters' experiments that were kept in a lab, like him, and he was the only survivor. And so Rocket is dealing with a very specific survivor's guilt, which is something that they don't explore a lot in games. And then Groot, of course, is the last Flora Colossus. He is the last of his species, and trying to, I guess, hold up the weight of being the last of a kind, the grief of losing everyone that is like you in the universe. And all of these characters, through the story, like come to terms with these things. Like they're able to confront them, these weaknesses almost, and make them strengths. And that comes through in the gameplay too. Like you get new attacks and abilities in the game by completing your character arcs, not necessarily by like leveling up, which I think is so cool. And the story is so good. It is, even if you don't like the combat, it is still completely worth buying and playing just for the story. Because like this, man, I cried so many times near the end, especially stuff with Nikki, and that was so well done. All of it was so well done. The ending is amazing. Please play this game. Hello again. The footage got corrupted, so I had to film this again the next day. Sue me. So my number one game of the year is, if you know me, you probably already know, I've told you, I've said everywhere, is Nier Replicant version 1.225. Anyway, this is a like remake with added content of Nier Replicant. It's got new combat, it's got new rewritten and rearranged and then re-recorded music, which is fantastic. It's some of the best ever. And I had not played this original game before. I loved Nier Automata, obviously, and this remake with like the new ending that ties it into Automata is really cool. I don't quite know how to sell this. The game is really good at the beginning, but it is a slow burn. I really, really like the first like 10 hours, but they are very different from the rest of the game, and the game is like trying to convince you it's something it's not for that first section until you get to part 2. And then the next 20 hours are like a lot different. I don't know how to talk about it without spoiling it. Basically, these characters, I love them so much. Nier and Emil and Kaine and Grimoire Weiss are probably my favorite party of characters in any game ever. They touched my heart in a weird way that I can't, like, fully explain. And maybe the best way to sell this game, which, like, has problems here and there, maybe the best way I can sell it is that after I beat it, I couldn't play another video game for 7 weeks. Every time I tried to pick one up, I just, like, couldn't do it, because I kept thinking about Nier, and I kept thinking about Devila and Popula and all these characters, and, like, I don't know, it affected me emotionally in a way that I can't put into words, and it's gonna stay with me for the rest of my life. So, in that sense, I think that's a good call for a game of the year for me. It's weird because I think if I had to lay them next to each other and point out their qualities, I would say Guardians was was like the game of the year, but and although that emotionally affected me too, it just wasn't this. Like, something about this spoke to me in a way that even Automata didn't, and I don't know. So yeah, that is my interesting number one pick for game of the year. So hopefully, I don't think anyone else is going to say that for theirs, so that's good. That's good content. Alright, well, thank you guys for sticking around. If you did for this long, that's incredible of you. Very cool. Yeah, but I'll be back. I'm going to be doing some more streams this year, hopefully. And you know what? I should continue my Persona 3 streams. Alright, well, yeah, now stick around because there might be an after credits scene. Aha! If you stuck around for the after the credits scene here, you get the pleasure of finding out the real game of the year, which is the Animal Crossing Happy Home Paradise DLC. Yeah. I didn't include this in the main list because it is a DLC, but it is the best game this year also. It's just literally all the good stuff about Animal Crossing without any of the bad things. You can just build to your heart's content. It's just literally creative mode. It is the dream. It is a dream come true of a game for me. I've spent 500 hours in Minecraft creative mode. I've spent another 500 hours in Fallout 4 building settlements. Like, this is perfect. This game is perfect. It is a perfect 10, and I don't know what else to say about it. This game lets you build to your heart's content. You don't have to worry about materials. All you are doing is you have this gigantic array of thousands of different things you can put in these different houses to suit these different residents' tastes, and you're like running a business at the same time, and you have to like make something that they would like, and like you do it though. It's like all interior design stuff. That's all it is. You have unlimited resources. So Nintendo, you killed it with this one. This was the best game this year. Everybody play this.